Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, CRM Optimization Secrets. As we continue our theme of outdoor living and design for the month of September, I have the pleasure of introducing today's speaker, Brandy Lawson, CEO of Fiery FX. Brandy, please take it away.
Hello, and welcome into today's session, which is CRM optimization tips. So hopefully that's why you're here, and that you kind of are familiar with the CRM so that we can make it work even harder for you. So before we jump right in, let's start with a little intro on me. So I'm Brandy Lawson. My company is Fiery FX, and I've been in the tech industry a long time. I did the math. It still checks out, but it feels like things are crazier and moving faster than ever. I am also a published author. I've spent over 13 years at Fire Effects helping businesses with systems, software, sales, and marketing. And in the last 2-ish years, a lot of AI. You can't go anywhere without hearing all about AI. So I'm also a business mentor and I've got an MBA. So these are my credentials. We do this to sort of like, who is this chick and why should I listen to her? Also, while it is my expertise, it is my bias. I come from software tech and now AI. I really believe that these tools are very powerful. And so that's really my perspective that I'm coming from. I've worked on this side of the business a long time and things are moving faster than ever. But I also think that means there's more opportunity than ever as someone who works in a business or works as a small business owner to really optimize what you're doing. So that brings us a little bit to what we're doing here. CRMs, customer relationship manager. This is where all of your contact and sales information lives. And if you've got one of these, hopefully you've got all of the foundations set up in place and people are using it and that your data's there. So your CRM software is set up. And it doesn't really matter which one you're using. It could be any of these, it could be something else. If it's a spreadsheet, you're not quite ready to optimize, but as long as you're using software, then these optimization tips are for you. Your team needs to know how to use the software. So again, it needs to be in place and in use before we can start making it work harder. So that new leads and client data are being put into it and the software is consistently being used. So the data in there, it's not just like once a month we're putting leads in there, but weekly that data is being updated. So if that's you, then these tips are for you. If one of these might be missing or weak or not quite there, you'll really want to address that first. Having these solid foundations means that you've got that baseline and then you can optimize. Many of these tips kind of assume that you've got these pieces and parts in place. And no shade if that's not you. Like you can listen in, take something away, but make sure you come back to these foundations before you jump into some of the things we're about to talk about. Okay, so we laid the foundation, you know who I am. Let's move into it. Today, I'm going to be sharing these 5 tips. The first one we're going to talk about is scoring. It's actually talking about your leads because not all leads are created equal. The phone rings, you pick it up. If it's not a telemarketer, it could be somebody calling who wants your services. That person might be ready to make a decision. They might be just kind of kicking the tires. They might be somebody who heard of somebody who's ready to make a decision. They might be a strategic partner. Not all leads are created equal. And you don't have unlimited time or attention. So you kind of want to intentionally prioritize when you have 5 minutes to pick up the phone and call somebody on the list. Who are you calling? Who is the one that's going to close the fastest, is the most qualified? And just picking up that sticky note that's sitting on the top of the desk and calling them is not intentional prioritization. So here's how you walk through, and here's what is useful about scoring leads. So first of all, it increases your effectiveness because you do only have so much time and energy. You also get to, or your team also gets to, focus on the fastest to close leads. What do I mean by that? most of the time, people in your business, from the time the phone rings or somebody walks into the showroom to the time they're paying you the full price for what they're ordering is at least 90 days. You're always 3 months from the close of the sale and actually getting the money, and sometimes longer, right? Sometimes longer. So if there's somebody who's actually going to be ready to order faster, we would want to call them faster because cash flow is a thing. So focusing on fastest to close leads. Starting simple with your scoring, getting fancy later. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but the scoring is really how you begin to maximize the value of your CRM. Because if you don't do, all leads look the same if you haven't qualified them, if you haven't scored them. And if you start doing this, you will probably discover not only who you want to call first, but also which lead sources are getting you the most qualified leads. You might want to double down on that. Or if you don't have any that are looking really well qualified, you may need to look for different lead sources. So this really gives you a numerical evaluation, some insight into which leads or essentially potential customers are the ones you want to call and where those people are coming from so that you can get more people like them. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about how this can work. So, this little lead scoring model is one way and is kind of our example to give you a little bit of insight on how this can work. So, let's examine this more thoroughly. In your CRM, you can set it up so that you've got an ideal customer profile. And then if a lead comes in and it meets that profile, it gets, let's just say, 30 points. Is the number important? No, it's just gotta be relative. Like, if we fit the ideal customer profile, that's 30 points, and if they visit our, let's say, our scheduling page, maybe that's half that point value. So it's just relative. You can pick point like, you kind of intuitively know what is a buying behavior or a potential buying behavior. And visiting your scheduling page or coming to the showroom definitely is in the mix. If they submit a contact form, if you're giving webinars, maybe you have some strategic partners that have high value. So maybe they get 10 extra points if they come from a strategic partner, if they're opening your emails, if they're downloading your free content. And then if they're inactive, if they don't return your call, then you can also be negative. So basically, this is essentially a updating over time score way to say how hot or cold this lead is. So implementing this in your own CRM, think about those behaviors that tell you that this person's ready to buy. So did they share their budget? Is the budget in the range? Do you have a timeline? Is the timeline for ordering less than 90 days? All of these pieces and parts you can then begin to put into your CRM, assigning a points value. And then this is why that first foundation was so important, my friends, is that you have to be putting the data in for the CRM to then be scoring for then when the person in the sales seat, if it's you, it's your team member, sits down, they can then look at these lead scores and go after the ones with the higher score first because we've given the mechanism, the system, the information to evaluate these leads on our behalf. And much like anything, you'll continue to revise this over time. So, a simple version of this might be to give a priority to leads that come from strategic partners or other armed forces, or I think budget has a lot to do with it and time frame has a lot to do with it, but also in your specific business, you got to know you at this point you probably know, but you haven't written down. But like write down what are those key indicators that this person is qualified, is serious, is probably ready to make a decision. Use those. So, just to bring this home, why does lead scoring matter? And getting started with even just here, these people visited the showroom, they're higher on the list. These people shared their budget, higher on the list. These people have a budget that really fits well with our ideal client, even higher on the list. Start there. But this helps you to focus your resources efficiently because you only have so much time and attention, right? So let's get that focus on highest potential leads. Also helps you prioritize effectively. So yeah, you've got 5 leads and 10 minutes. Who are the two you're gonna call? Assuming that one goes to voicemail. Prioritize. Also allows you to do some strategic nurturing. So maybe this set of leads is lower scoring and you're not going to call them, but you do have your welcome kit you can send them. You do have a cabinet buying guy. You do have a remote, like you have some resources or other things that you can send to them to sort of nurture them along to get higher scoring so that it is worth your time and attention to call them. Because sometimes people come in too early and you're like, cool, I want to talk to you in 3 months when you have a blueprint. So you can also be strategic about nurturing and be more discerning with your resources. Finally, you get faster conversions because if you have scored them, you have some nurturing, by the time you get them on the phone, you know that they are closer to being ready to make a decision, which means that you're back to 90-ish days as opposed to out 180 or more days trying to get people to make a decision, decide on a design, and place that order. All right. That is lead scoring. This can be so powerful and you can start really simple. So just think of like the top one or two things that tell you that this is a good fit client for you. Figure out how you want to measure those, start tracking them in your CRM, and then use those to float the ones that are likely closest to being customers to the top of the list. All right. Number 2, custom phases. So what do I mean by custom phases? It's in your business, people go through a sales process, right? And in somebody else's business, they also go through a sales process, but that's likely a slightly different process and the phases might be different. And even in similar businesses, the actual step-by-step process that prospects go through to become clients or customers is unique because every business is unique. So custom phases lets your CRM support your unique sales process. And I've noticed with a lot of people using CRMs that they like get a little tripped up by the defaults because they're like, I don't know what MQL is. Well, of course, no, you don't. And that's okay. You can change the phases to reflect your unique sales process because every industry has different requirements and your CRM best serves you when it's really aligned how you sell. However, I've noticed that this can actually seem simple, right? How hard could it be? I've noticed that this can be challenging for many businesses because they haven't actually spent any time defining their sales process. And that's okay. If you have been charging along with your CRM, you're using it feels a little sticky or frictiony because you're like, I mean, I guess we know what MQL or SQL is now. Just don't let the terminology get in the way. You can see on this slide, I've got from prospect through nope and love later and one. This is a reflection of our sales process because here we do give proposals and sometimes we'll keep them warm and sometimes we'll win the deal and sometimes we'll decide to love them later. Is that common sales language? No, my friends, it is not, but it's our language. So you can customize your phases to reflect your process. So let's get a little bit more into the terminology because if you haven't spent much time thinking about your sales process, it is a little difficult to customize the phases because you're like, I don't know. They call us and then we send them a proposal and then we hope that they say yes. And then sometimes they say yes, sometimes they don't. Yeah, nope, I think you can do better. So we're going to get a little sales geeky. Don't worry, you're going to be fine. So your terminology is most likely, definitely, probably, yes, different than the CRM. So you can just change the system to match the words your team uses. Here, over on the HubSpot side, this is what is the high level, if you're really involved in sales process definition. You get a lead. And then that lead is qualified. MQL stands for marketing qualified lead. So basically, if you had a marketing team, they're out in the getting leads. They're looking for people who match certain factors. Marketing qualified. No, they match these certain factors. Okay. So that's qualified by the system. Then to move from MQL to SQL, it's qualified by a human. And SQL is a sales qualified lead. I don't know why people like acronyms so much, but here we are. We're just going to flow with it. Now you know what it means. And then once it's a sales qualified lead, they get in touch with them and they verify, oh, yep, there's an actual opportunity here. a deal is opened. So you got a contact, and then there is a opportunity or a deal is usually the terminology used. And then it goes through the opportunity to either it becomes a customer or they say no thank you. So to give a little bit more real world context, since you're not an enterprise with a full marketing team. So there's leads generated from marketing or anywhere the leads come from. Maybe they come from strategic partners. Maybe they come from your Google ads. Like leads come in. The first thing is like, is this even a person who needs our business? Like that's a marketing qualified lead. Is this even a person who needs our business? And then the from MQL to SQL is essentially where we start to score those leads because okay, yeah, it's a person who needs our services, but the project is 2 years out, but they're actually not going to be a good fit for us because their budget's $5,000. Like we evaluate their fit against what we actually do. Then once we're there, we evaluate the leads showing a probability of becoming a customer. That's when the opportunity is. That's like, oh, okay, they do have a project, they do have a budget. It is where we want to work and how we want to work. And we have details on the actual deal or opportunity. Then the customer. Okay, so that's very, very big picture, the sales process. Let's dig further. Because if you aren't a marketing geek like me, you probably haven't spent much time also thinking about how people come to discover, trust, and then buy from your business. So the sales funnel over here starts with awareness. The pipeline, which is more the actual people in your business doing sales outreach, starts with prospecting. So either someone out in the world talks to a strategic partner, Googles you, runs across a magazine, they become aware of you. Internally, you might have designers or people who are tasked with picking up the phone and talking to the contractor who's signed one up down the street or, prospecting. That's what it is. Then, so like there's people out in the world who have a problem who are actively looking for you. And then you also have a sales team who's actively seeking people. So they go through these steps. People out in the world become aware of you, they discover you, they evaluate you, they show intent, like, okay, I'm actually gonna like engage with this person, purchase and loyalty. And loyalty is the rebuy. Yeah, we all want that. In the pipeline, there's prospecting. So I'm calling up people who might need our services. Then I'm qualifying those leads. I'm having an initial meeting. I'm defining their needs. We make an offer, this really you send an estimate. Negotiation, finalize proposal, close the deal, deliver the product. So essentially, these are all different ways of saying the same thing. So I give you these, not to tell you that these are the steps, but I give you these to sort of hang your own framework on how people walk through your sales process so that you can get clear on what that is so you can customize your CRM. Let's take a look at a real world example here. This is from Close, Cloze. Close is a CRM option. Here it's showing us the timeline. So what's really nice is that there's more information here about what's happened, who's called, who's talked. Then we have the deal stage. We know this is a potential deal. And we also have assigned next steps and responsibilities. So when we are clear and we customize how we walk through every piece of this, then we know who's on deck. Like we can see the progress of a deal, we can track it, we know who's up next, we know the stage and we can then also give the supporting things. So if the person has expressed interest, we have their budget, we're like, great, you come in for a discovery meeting. Or great, we need to get these additional pieces of information to send you an initial estimate so that we can make sure that everything's aligned and then schedule a discovery meeting. Once you have clarity here and your CRM can reflect it, everything gets easier. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to be like, oh, right, do we have that? What do we have a discovery meeting link? Oh, what do we do next? And it becomes way easier to put other people in the sales seat because we don't have to sit with them and train them for 6 months. We can walk them through the CRM, and the CRM becomes their playbook for how we do sales. All right, so why this matters. When you do this, it's going to be clear to everyone who's in the sales process and what's the next steps are and who's responsible. Clear tracking, defined next steps, no guessing, and improved utilization of this tool. So, most of the time, we get a CRM set up. If we get everybody using it, we're like, yes, this makes it even a more powerful player in your business because then you can never lose track of a lead again. And this also helps remove some of the friction your team might be feeling using this resource because then the words in it make sense to their brain and they don't have to keep doing a translation between a step in the funnel or step in the sales process and not being what you call it. So customize phases makes it easier, makes it a more valuable player. All right. Next up, weekly review. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, but let me let me just convince you why this is powerful. So, reviewing your CRM weekly keeps your eyes on the pulse, dashboards and revenue. So, again, when you have the data in there, it's consistently being used and your team feels good using it, then we can review dashboards and revenue weekly. You can know very clearly what's happening. Do we have enough leads? Dashboard will tell you. What's the revenue going to be this month? Dashboard will tell you. Is there anybody that we need to follow up with? Is the sales team doing their job? Dashboard will tell you. You can assess your pipeline status. So sometimes what we found is that there'll be a good amount of leads coming in, like leads, great, nailing it. And then we'll qualify them. Okay, yeah, we'll still got a good chunk. But then they'll get stuck somewhere. Sometimes it's in waiting for an initial estimate. Sometimes it's in getting a discovery meeting booked. Sometimes it's even in the following up or the getting the retainer or the ordering. Reviewing your pipeline shows you where the sticky spots are and where you need to focus your time and attention so that leads continue to flow through. So it's not just do we have enough and are we going to make any money, but where are people getting stuck? Where can we be doing a better job of moving people through our system? And then reviewing deals won and lost and your key performance indicators, KPIs. Again, sales industry loves their acronyms. I mean, honestly, all industries love their acronyms, but KPI stands for key performance indicator. These are the things that you know are the good mile markers to show you you're on the path to where you want to be. And if a KPI is off, it's not like the sky is falling. It's, oh, what's happening? Because these are like your check engine light essentially on your dashboard. What are the things we're going to watch to make sure that we are able to get to the destination we've mapped? So, weekly, reviewing your dashboard, assessing the pipeline status, and reviewing deals won and lost. The other really great insight that you can be getting from reviewing those deals won and lost is our lead scoring working? Did we miss something? Where are these leads coming from? And what's causing us to lose deals? Sometimes it's just simply it wasn't a good fit. Great. We didn't want those people anyhow. Sometimes it's like something's broken in our process, or there's some communication gaps, or there's something to be fixed. So that's why giving this a view, keeping a pulse on this, and it could be Wednesday that you review it, as long as weekly you are reviewing. Because, okay, so this is an example Zoho CRM dashboard. Your weekly review can answer questions like, how many sales will close this month? Do we have enough leads to hit our sales goals? Are we getting good leads? And your sales CRM can help you predict the future. And not like who's going to win the Super Bowl, but more like how long does a lead take to close and thus how many leads will close this month? And which leads are the ones more likely to close so that we can do these little micro predictions. Sure, we can use it to forecast out what will revenue be next year, but you and I both know things are changing. Really, no one actually knows what's going to happen. But these little micro predictions. So when you know what's in your pipeline, what's in each stage, and you've used it long enough to kind of know how long a lead takes to close, and when we've done this, what's happening next, then you can predict. Okay, cash flow, good this month. Next month, looking a little spotty. So what do we need to do to pull in, to place some orders, to get some more leads? This helps you predict the future. The other kind of unexpected benefit is that everybody gets more confident in what they're doing because there's so much less guessing when you actually have the data and you're using it. So, why this matters. You can fix issues before they become big problems and track your progress to goals. So, sometimes you get to the 10th month of the year and you're like, oh, I don't think we're in the black. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing. Don't wait, because if you're checking in weekly, you know what's happening and you can start to identify things that need to be changed or fixed before they become big problems. Also, using the data, you can make changes to sales efforts based on what's happening. So, who knows? Like, there were tariffs, there was like changes in supplies. There's all kinds of things happening all the time. If you are in touch with what's happening in the sales side of your business, you can make changes to your efforts. Maybe you need to do more prospecting. Maybe you need to do less prospecting. Maybe people are coming in, but then like stalling out on the decision. And then you can start to see that and figure out how to help them through that part of the process. Next up, you can see the future, right? Not only revenue, but inventory and labor forecasting. So if you know there's a bunch of deals that looks like they're going to close in 2 months and things have been kind of slow, you're going to have to ramp up or vice versa, right? If things have been hopping and it's going to fall off, you know how to plan for the future when you're using the data in your CRM. And finally, you get accurate info because if the data is being looked at, you know what else is happening? People are updating it because they know it's going to get used. So it becomes sort of this self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, somebody's going to use it. So I actually might make sure that it's right in there. When we use it, we get what we want out of it. So weekly reviews. If you're not already doing that, decide which day, put it on your calendar. Even if it's 15 minutes, looking at your top key performance indicators, how many leads are coming in and what's set to close. This helps drive confidence in your business, which actually helps you serve your clients better. All right. So we've covered scoring, custom phases, and weekly review. Now on to revising quarterly. Revising quarterly. Here's what I mean. Quarterly, make system tweaks and changes. Notice this is not weekly because you're going to make everybody crazy if you try to do that. But quarterly, you consistently help the system reflect what's going on in your business. Back to how everything is massively, rapidly changing. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. So you make system tweaks and changes quarterly. You update your lead phases as needed. Again, you're going to start this process. You're going to get going. You're going to get a little bit better at it. You're going to get a little bit more in tune to actually what's happening. A lot of times we're like, yeah, they call us, we send an estimate, we schedule a meeting, then we place the order, and then we install it. And then you realize that there's actually like 4 other phases inside of each of those phases. But start somewhere, update the lead phases as needed quarterly. Again, we're trying not to stress out the team that's using the tool. The other piece here to do quarterly is add or reconnect integrations. So there's an opportunity for your sales software, your CRM, to talk to your project management software, to talk to your invoicing software or your QuickBooks. So having those systems talk together is wildly beneficial, but it does take a little bit of maintenance. Sometimes the connections fall apart. Sometimes there's new integrations available. So checking your integrations quarterly and then evaluating other updates to maintain the relevance of your system. We're about to talk about AI stuff. It's constantly changing. So having that quarterly check-in means that everything stays relevant. It's proactive, and this consistent maintenance keeps the system aligned with the business, because you might think that the business doesn't change, but the business is going to be changing a lot, probably. So quarterly check-ins and updates. All right. Now, using AI. Notice this is at the end of the list. It's really attractive and it's everywhere and it's very powerful, but it's at the end of the list for a reason. All of the other things we talked about, like I could go back to that third slide where I talked about foundations. If you don't have good data in here, if you're not using it consistently, if you haven't customized it, if you haven't implemented scoring, if you're not using it weekly, and if you're not revising it quarterly, maybe just like make a note to do the rest of that before you come back to the AI stuff because it's fun, it's cool. It can be very powerful, not useful unless you have a good data set for it to operate on. Got it? Got it? Cool. All right, let's do AI. All right. First things first here. Yeah, I know that AI stands for artificial intelligence. But does it? I feel like it stands more for like assistive intelligence because it's a tool. It allows us to do things on a larger scale and faster. Notice I said things. We can really do some stupid, dumb things on a larger scale and faster. We can do some great things on a larger scale and faster. It's just a tool. You could hand me a chisel and a block of marble, and we're never going to get Michelangelo's Pieta because I'm no Michelangelo. I do draw a pretty good Bugs Bunny, though. But those same tools in my hands versus Michelangelo's hands don't yield the same results. So the quality and relevance of the things that AI can help us do is determined a lot by the humans using the tool. So good data, humans who know what they're doing, AI, amazing. So the first thing that it can help you with in CRM specifically is call or meeting or email summaries. This is one of the places that AI really shines is it can take a whole bunch of data and pull out the pieces that you need and or want. So if you've got a call or a meeting and you're using recordings, because you're using recordings, right? If you're not, kind of like those foundational things, never mind the rest of what we're going to talk about with AI, go implement call and meeting recordings. Then it can pull out like, how is this client feeling over a series of emails or a series of calls? It can tell you, are they confident? Are they worried? Are there communication gaps? It can also give you that quick summary. So you've just had a call. The CRM can take that transcript, pull out okay, in a discovery meeting, these are the decisions and give you a summary so that you can email it to the client so they feel confident that you heard their decisions, you got the measurements, and they know what the next step is. It can also take a whole big old email thread and summarize it if you have to if somebody needed to jump in, you're going on vacation and somebody else needs to jump in, they could basically ask the CRM for a summary of where the whole project is at or where the deal is at. So good at summaries. Second thing here is workflow automation. So back in lead scoring, we talked a little bit about the ability to set up the scoring mechanisms and then the CRM automatically scores things. That's one example of workflow automation. Also, if somebody comes along and they're 6 months out from starting their project, they seem like a good fit, you can put them into a nurture sequence that will basically check in with them in another 2 months, send them a resource, and 30 days from that, you can automate parts of your workflow. Real key here is that you cannot automate what you haven't already defined. So, knowing how workflow automation works and understanding the potential might help you go, oh, all right, well, actually, and if they fit in this bucket, these are the touch points we want. Great. Define that. Get it all set up. Have a human run through it once, then automate it. AI is great for suggesting these things and helping you kind of work through and think through them. Workflow automation. Predictive lead scoring. So when you've used lead scoring for long enough, the assistive intelligence inside of a CRM can start to see, oh, well, leads that look like this usually took this many days. And so I'm going to score them like this because I've seen similar ones and they fit that profile. So not only are we saying if they take these actions, these are the score, but then the system can start to predict which actions they're going to take and help augment that score with that predictive lead scoring. So that is another way you can use AI to help augment what's going on. But AI only works well with quality data. So I feel like I said it before, but this is all really great and very cool and super helpful if you're already doing the things we just talked about. So let's go back and talk about the things we just talked about. So, lead scoring, figure out what makes a quality lead for you. And this also might change over time, or there might be different segments of clients that you have. So, if you're doing closet installs, their budget and timeline might look a little different than full kitchen and bathroom or full remodel. So, scoring is looking at the quality of the leads, but sometimes you also need to segment out your leads. You can't treat them all the same if their behaviors, budgets, or the service you're trying to sell them is different. So really keep that in mind with scoring, but definitely implement scoring or some sort of qualification because not all of your leads are created equal. Next, custom phases. Have your CRM sound like your business so that your people in your business feel comfortable using your CRM. And then use that data weekly, not monthly. And probably not like if you're in doing the sales activities, great, you're in doing the sales activities. You only really need to look at that information once a week because on a daily basis, not enough is changing. On a monthly basis, too much has changed. So having that weekly cadence is really important to knowing the health of your business, the health of your sales pipeline. And then those quarterly revisions. This is how you keep up. And honestly, if you haven't got any of those foundations in place, definitely start there because the better the information is in the tool, that the team is using it consistently. I cannot stress this enough. And if the team's not using it consistently, address that friction first. It might be a training issue, it might be a change resistance issue. It might have something to do with it not sounding like your business. So you might have to address the custom phases, but really figure out how to ensure everyone is using it. Then, my friends, you will benefit from using AI. Now, we've talked about a lot of pieces and parts today, but now is the time when you think about specifically your business, you think about specifically your day to day. What of these 5 things, and you only get to think about AI if you've done the other 4, what of these 4 to 5 things, which one of these would have the highest value to you and is the easiest to implement? Okay. I really want you to evaluate that because we're looking for the highest return on investment. So, if custom phases is the easiest to implement, you already kind of know what your sales process is. Cool. Choose that one. If you've got enough data in there and you really haven't been using it, weekly review. Great. Please do that. So pick one. Just one. No, really, you can only have one. Why? Why would I say that? Because doing one thing, walking away from this webinar, having implemented one thing is far more powerful than the 3 pages of notes that are going to go sit on your desk and then get shuffled off into a file cabinet. One thing to implement. Now, I want you to put an hour on your calendar to take the first step in implementing. No, really, I want you to open up your calendar right now. Find an hour, make yourself an appointment, say implement CRM optimization, put in there the one you chose. I am not kidding. And invite anybody else that needs to be in there with you. Action is the only way that improvements get made in business. And you coming and listening to me and learning about all the things you could do is a great step, but it's not going to change anything unless you do something with that information. Yeah. Do you have the appointment made? I'm counting on you. You better have it on your calendar on my check. Okay. So now we've discussed all this. You have that on your calendar. You're going to take action. You're going to benefit even more from the information in your CRM. Awesome. Okay. So that wraps us up for today. I'm Brandy Lawson. Now, I've told you how to make the most of your CRM. But if you need help with that or making sense of your sales process, because again, if you get stuck there, you are not alone. Go ahead and reach out. I've got a podcast, Listen to Elevated, where we discuss some of these things. I've got a Hire Help book, which tells you how to work with experts. And I'm here to help. And we're here to help because businesses hire us to help them make sense of these systems and better utilize them in their business.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brandy. I appreciate that presentation. What wonderful information you shared with us. Now we're going to go ahead and get into Q&A. We have a few questions here. The first from Morgan is, what CRM platform are most people using?
Okay, Morgan, I will answer this question, but I'm going to preface it by the one that most people are using is maybe not the one for you. Okay? So, in this industry, House Pro is used quite often by companies because it's built into House. There's a lot of integration. It seems to be a good CRM tool. Some of the other top ones are Builder Trend, Kitchen 365, and Kitchen Dev for those who are more on the cabinet manufacturing side. And then some of the other choices are Zoho CRM and Agile CRM. Those are the ones that are, let's say, most popular. The one that is right for you is the one that meets your business needs. And at this point, I don't know, I didn't go look at the research, but I know that there's like hundreds of CRM options, literally hundreds. And so I don't want you to get overwhelmed if you're trying to choose or if you're looking at potentially upgrading. Oh, and Stephanie hopped in with what about HubSpot? HubSpot actually is used quite a bit. It's a really easy way to get started with a CRM because they don't charge you for the basic CRM function. If I think the right answer is the one that you're going to use. With HubSpot, it's great to get started. It's free. About the time that you want to start adding features, it does get kind of pricey. But if you're already using it and you look at the price and the ROI, probably worth it. Um, Zoho is a good option. There's also one that's kind of specified for home services businesses, which is called Thrive. It's spelled really weird, Thryv. Again, each one of these has its own strengths. It has its own integrations, and the right one is the one that fits your business needs. And that can feel a little overwhelming, a little tricky. I've actually got a guide that walks you through how to choose software. If that's something you want, you can find it on the website. But those are some of the most common options. And if you've got one that you're only half kind of using, really look at if using it better will serve your needs before you jump to another platform. What I'll say. Oh, Stephanie's got another question. Is that okay? um,
Yes, of course.
all right. Once you start with one, can you easily change your complete reentry process? Okay. So this is a really forward-looking question. I appreciate that deeply. Once you have started with one, there are typically ways to export, import your information once you've started with one. So I don't, I would say thinking about changing systems is kind of low on your list. Ensuring it does have some sort of export is important. I would put that on the top of my checklist for evaluation. But the frameworks of the systems are fairly standardized and it should be able to, any system should be able to spit out a CSV file that then can be imported to another. So definitely look for that, but I wouldn't make that the top of your, I wouldn't worry about that because most of those mechanisms are in place and your data can be moved from one system to another at this point. Yes.
Perfect. Our next question is, how do you handle change management when introducing CRM optimizations across different teams?
Yes. So a plan. Make a plan. And this sounds kind of course you would make a plan, but no, really making a plan about like what's week one, what's week two, because at the end of the day, we're all just humans trying to do stuff together. So involving the people who are going to be impacted in the plan can also help. And then stage it out and then add time for stuff not to go exactly to plan. So make a plan and then extend the plan, but keep sometimes what happens is that we make a plan, we extend a plan, we start through the plan, and then everybody loses interest. So that is also a place where the wheels come off. So having regular checkpoints or having what I call success feedback loops is it seems really simple and kind of dumb, but you keep a team on track by showing them, like being like, hey, look, you remember how it was bad before and now we did this and now it's better. So having those success feedback loops in your plan so that everybody was like, right, that was work, but it is better, so that we'll keep doing it. So that was sort of a short answer to make the plan. The plan's going to be whatever it is. Allow time for the plan not to go to plan, and then incorporate those success feedback loops so that when you get everybody together and like, okay, remember, here's the plan and here's where we are. Here's where it was sucking before and here's what we did and here's where it's better. Oh yeah, it's better. So let's keep doing that. So there, and then I saw a couple things other here and about the CRM stuff. Dosado. Dipsado is also a very fine tool. Again, like if we were going to list off all of the CRMs, we would just be 45 minutes of listing CRMs. So Dipsado is also a great choice if that fits your business and your needs. And then House Pro is the CRM offered by House. I believe they bought one branded under there, integrated it with some of their things. Okay, those questions hopefully answered. What else we got?
Perfect. Kind of in a similar vein, the question is, what are some pitfalls to avoid when reconfiguring CRM pipelines?
Okay, some pitfalls to avoid. Well, this usually will largely depend on how large your team is that's interfacing with the CRM. If you've got a couple people, you're more nimble. There's less pitfalls. Um, I think maybe the first one is that behavior change is hard. It seems very simple. Like everything I talked about today, not rocket science. It's pretty simple, fairly straightforward. And then the human gets involved. And we like things that are consistent. And behavior change is hard. So one of the pitfalls is just assuming that it's going to be as simple as it sounds. When you make a change, back to those success feedback loops, like when you make a change, be checking in with the success. Help people think through why it is important and recognize when things change for the better. So pitfall is underestimating behavior change. Um, I don't know, thinking about other pitfalls, honestly, the more you tweak and tinker, no, oh, maybe another pitfall would be doing it too often. Like you don't want to be changing things every week. Quarterly is probably adequate to get people, so don't tinker too often. And
Per-
creating a culture of change resilience, being able to move because nothing is slowing down. People's behavior changes quickly, like client behavior. The things that people are expecting from your business is going to continue to evolve. So you need to be able to have your business and have your systems evolve too. So I guess two pitfalls is behavior change takes longer and more effort than you think, and don't tinker too often.
Perfect. Thank you for that answer. Our next question is, well, again, in the same vein, is how do you balance automation and human input when qualifying leads?
Oh, all right. Oh, these are juicy, juicy questions, my friends. All right. How do you balance human input and automation? So, human input is desired when there is less predictability in what's going to happen next. So, when we talked about lead scoring, um, we could look at some of the predictable behaviors, like did they visit your products page or did they make an appointment? Like some of the predictable things that happen during the sales cycle, those we automate. Less predictable things about like what is the outcome of the discovery meeting or what is the estimate that needs to go out. Those then are typically will rely on humans, but we can help the humans by having templates and other things to support them. So, and then the other piece I would say about automation is we don't automate anything we don't understand. So until there is a very specific system, or if your sales process is kind of like, well, then we, and sometimes we don't try to automate that. You're gonna really need to have a very specific one, specific system, understood steps. If anyone is deciding where things go, that's a bad thing to automate. So if decisions are needed, that's a human. If it's predictable and we know what happens next, that's automated. Is that helpful? Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. That enlightens me a little bit. So thank you. Yeah. Our next question is, what's one CRM feature you believe most businesses overlook but has a huge impact?
Scheduling. I'm like, wait, I have an answer. Most CRMs will have scheduling links. In my experience, these are less about being overlooked and more about people are scared. And let me tell you why you should not be scared. People are scared to give prospects and potential clients a access to their calendar. That's not exactly how this works. You get to decide when people schedule on your calendar. You set it all up, you set parameters, it looks at your other calendar and looks for, you can give it all kinds of rules. Using these takes away about 6 emails every time you're trying to meet with somebody. And sometimes people won't use your scheduling link, and that's perfectly fine, but it makes it way more convenient for everybody. So I think one of the the most underutilized features of a good CRM is a scheduling link. Because also, when the client uses the scheduling link, they can get reminder emails. And they can cancel if things change and you don't have to show up to a meeting and be like, where you at? So it can be so powerful to use that feature. And I think it's overlooked because a lot of people are scared. And I would say set up the parameters. And even if they can only schedule on your calendar 1 day a week and they go look and they're like, it does not work for me, you at least shorten the conversation.
Yeah, I've seen it implemented before, and it really does save a lot of time. It's so efficient. So I love that. So before we end for today, Brandy, I just want to give you the floor. Just kind of give us some final thoughts, wrap us up for today. Um, we actually have one more question. Is it okay if we take one more question from
Yeah,
Tracy?
absolutely.
Perfect. Do you know who has a scheduling calendar link that works with Mac? Zoho does not.
That's interesting. So I think what you're asking is that you're using the Apple Calendar and that Zoho doesn't integrate with Apple Calendar, I think is what you're asking me. Um, that one's a little tricky because try so if you're using Mac Mail and Mac Calendar, Mac Apple Mail, Apple, I think, I don't know, they keep changing it. If you're using the one that comes with Apple, um, you are probably missing out on a lot of integration potential because most of the big CRMs and other systems don't integrate with Apple Calendar. I cannot think of one off the top of my head that does. I don't know if you've looked at Calendly. There are some like third-party systems that will offer scheduling links. So let me be clear. Inside a CRM, like a HubSpot, it has built-in calendar scheduling that will sync with Microsoft and Google calendars. Zoho, I think, has a very similar feature. If you're not using Microsoft or Google, then you can't really take advantage of that feature, but you may still want the calendar scheduling. There are third parties like Acuity and Calendly that are just schedulers, that may integrate with Apple Calendar. I think if you're already using Zoho, you may want to think very hard about maybe moving to something like Google Workspace because Google Workspace can be branded, it can be shared, there's a lot more functionality and a lot more integration. So hopefully I've kind of given you 2 paths there. One, you may want to consider moving to Google Workspace instead of using your Apple Calendar. Two, if you really are committed to Apple Calendar, you can look at some of the third-party scheduling to still get that scheduling functionality that wouldn't be available in your CRM.
Amazing. And then we did have a Samira ask. She's a cabinet installer and she wants to add sales soon. When you were talking about CRM software for cabinets, you said it was Kitchen 365 And there was
There's
another
another one called
option.
Kitchen Dev, and those are, I think they're more geared a bit towards manufacturers. So general AI, LLM, ChatGPT, or Perplexity might be a good friend here if you are very specifically looking for you're an installer and these are the kinds of things you need, having it assist you in some research. The other place is to ask around to other businesses like yours about what they're using and how that's gone for them. A little network research can go a long way.
Perfect. Well, now I'm going to give you the floor, Brandy, and just let you tie in everything for us before we end for today. I'd love you to give us some final thoughts.
Absolutely. These were fantastic questions. Thank you for being present to that. The QR code on the screen will take you to an offer I have for you, which is an hour of my time. Basically, what I've found is many people struggle to find the time, even though I was like, you get your calendar out and you put it on. Many people find the time to honor the commitment they've made to themselves. And so if you go to fireeffects.com/CRM, if you go to that QR code, you can sign up to come to a work session. I will be there. There will be other people working on their CRM. We will do this together. I will be available for questions as you work on it, but this is an hour together to do the work. So if that's something that you would find helpful, go register. You'll have access to me for an hour. We will make sure that you implement something from this session so that your business gets better, your life gets less stressful, and your clients get happier. There's one more question here about a CRM that translates better onto phones. Most good CRMs today have a good app, a mobile app. Now, if that is obviously something that's high on your list, definitely make that one of your top evaluation points. I know HubSpot does it. I'm pretty sure Zoho does it. And most of the CRMs I've encountered have a strong mobile app, but if that's important to you, make sure it's one of your top evaluations. And join me at our work session by registering. And thanks for coming, and thanks for the great questions.
Amazing. Thank you again, Brandy, for sharing your expertise with us. And a huge thank you to our wonderful audience for attending today's session. Until next time,
Yes.
everyone, have a wonderful day.